Hey guys, would you like a way to help everyone in your personal and professional network vote faster, easier, and smarter, and help Democrats win, even in traditionally Republican areas? Stay with us.
Welcome to Lean to the Left, home of no-holds-barred commentary, plus interviews with fascinating people, some of them top experts, others simply with interesting stories to tell. You'll never know who'll show up at Lean to the Left. Now here's your host, Bob Gaddy.
Today we're with Wayne Liebman, Director of Operations and Hairball Detangler at bluevoterguide.org. It's a new, unique get-out-the-vote tool built by grassroots organizers for everyone. It's progressive, simple, and shareable, bringing along all voters, including hesitant first-timers, to make voting easier and fun. Prior to the 2022 election, Wayne oversaw the creation of Blue Voter Guide. It's a volunteer-led platform that makes voting easier by showing the endorsements of a wide range of progressive organizations. Blue Voter Guide had over 50,000 users in 9 states in 2022 and will expand to all 50 states in 2024. A physician, playwright, and political organizer, Wayne worked to unite Southern California's grassroots activists and Democratic Party infrastructure into a winning alliance in 2018. He helped build SoCal Blue, initially Swing SoCal Left, to coordinate efforts to flip SoCal's 5 Republican-held swing districts. SoCal Blue fueled the growth of local coalitions, action councils, and served as public event hub for thousands of district flipping activities. Following the November 2018 sweep, Wayne took on the role of Director of Operations for Field Team 6, Register Democrats Save the World, partnering as a volunteer with Jason Berlin and COO Dale Roy Robinson to grow the organization into a national voter registration powerhouse, helping to register nearly 2 million Democrats and contributing to winning a Democratic trifecta in 2020. Wayne continued his work with SoCal Blue and Field Team 6 in 2022. So Wayne, welcome to the Lean to the Left podcast. We're really anxious to hear about the Blue Voter Guide.
Thanks, Bob. Glad to be here.
Hey man, can you fill us in on the guide, how it got started and how it works?
Yeah. It got started at SoCal Blue, which was a calendar hub website. And for the 2018 elections, we got a lot of questions about ballot propositions in California. So we created a page that was a grid, and along each row was one of the ballot propositions in the state. Across the top, each column was a endorsing organization, and we just filled in the grid so that there were check marks, yes, no, all the way across. So you could take a quick look at any proposition and see what the support was. And people did this and they loved it. They said, this is what I've been waiting for. This is an x-ray of who is supporting different propositions. So thousands of people used it. We repeated it in the next election. And then we got the crazy idea. We saw some of these national websites where you could type in your address and you could look at your ballot. They would show you all the elections that you could vote in. But these were nonpartisan. And also, they gave you all the information that they could possibly get about a candidate. So if you wanted to get a PhD in learning about what a candidate was about, you could go to one of these sites and you could read for days all the policy positions and the backgrounds and so forth. But it wasn't really a very efficient way to nurse somebody along that was a hesitant voter. So we decided to combine the idea that you could type in your address and look at a ballot, which was going to look like your ballot, but that what you would see were these endorsements. And that's what Blue Voter Guide is.
Okay. Now, is this only for the battleground states or the battleground target states or what?
it was a very daunting thing to even think about doing this in one state, in California. Then we got really ambitious and we said, okay, we're going to do it in battleground states in 2022. So we did 9 states in total in 2022. And in 2024, we're going to do all 50 states.
Okay. I can see that it would be valuable in states, for example, like South Carolina, where I live, where Republicans dominate. But there's a huge influx of new voters from the Northeast who need to be encouraged to vote. They come here and they talk to their neighbors, and their neighbors tell them, oh, this is Republican territory. You don't need to worry about voting. We got it covered. And so they don't go vote. And they need a different message, man.
What we find is that especially new voters and young voters can be very hesitant. And we've found that they don't want to vote wrong. They don't want to make a mistake. And that's one of the things that stops people from voting. So anything we can do to make it easier for someone to have confidence in their decisions is going to encourage people to vote. And that's what we're trying to do. There's millions of people that do not vote because they're scared to make a mistake.
Okay, so this is all an online thing, right?
It's completely online. You go to bluevoterguide.org. You can go there right now, and it's active in the one race that's going on. There's a primary in Wisconsin for the Supreme Court, and you can just type in WI in the address field for Wisconsin, and then it will take you to the Wisconsin ballot, and you can see what it looks like with all the people who are running for Supreme Court and how the recommendations stack up.
Okay. Now, does the guide include all Democratic candidates, including local?
It includes most candidates in most places, but it is not 100% complete. If you live anywhere in the United States, you can put your address into Blue Voter Guide and you will see your national races. You will see statewide races. You will see state ballot measures, and you will see your state legislature candidates. And you'll see all the candidates. You don't just see the Democratic candidates. You'll see all the candidates. And if you live in any of the top 100 metropolitan areas, you will see down ballot as well. We're constantly increasing our down ballot coverage. The goal someday is to have down ballot everywhere, but we don't have all the down ballot races everywhere at this point.
How big of an organization is this?
It's a grassroots organization, and I would say at this point it consists of maybe 75 volunteers. Nobody is paid on Blue Voter Guide, and it's a lot of work, as you can imagine, getting all these endorsements.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, so you say it also includes, besides the candidates, it includes independents, right?
That's right. The independent races are pretty interesting. The way we do it is if it's a partisan race, if there's Republicans running against Democrats in a race as Republicans and Democrats, you can tick off the Democrats. You can pick the Democrat you want, and it will show up when you go to print your ballot or save your guide, your ballot guide. You can't vote for a Republican. It's against our principles. We don't want anybody to be able to tick off a Republican. We're not interested in electing Republicans. But for nonpartisan races, the candidates don't say, but you've got the recommendations, the endorsements there so you can see. And also we have very short, brief descriptions of candidates that are running in nonpartisan races, judges, races like that. And if there's a candidate that leans to the right or is an election denier, we will tell you that. You will be able to see that right there.
Okay. Can you get a completed ballot to take with you when you vote?
Yes, absolutely. The first page right now on the site is you can just put in the state and you'll see the state races. And then if you want to see your down ballot, then you put in your address and we can give you your down ballot. So you tick off who you like. And then you go to another page. It says view your guide. And then that shows you all your choices. You can print that. You can save it as a PDF. You can send it to a friend. You can email it. Right now, you can share it on social media. And you can also save the link and come back to it later and edit it and make some changes if you want.
That's cool. So what's been the response so far?
The response has been great. The trick is to get this thing known all over the place, to get people aware of it and get people to use it. We have a huge social media campaign to make local groups aware of it and to spread the word. We have a lot of mechanisms for doing that. 50,000 people used the guide in the 2022 election. And I would say the responses have been uniformly enthusiastic about it. And we've gotten some feedback. It could be a little clearer if you did this, that, or the other. So we're doing a 2.0 version, which will be ready very soon. That will make it even easier, faster, leaner, and meaner, to make it really easy for those people who are hesitant to vote.
You must be really thrilled with that response then, right?
I thought about it beforehand, like what's our goal? How many people this maiden voyage in 9 states? And I thought I would be over the moon if we hit 50,000, and we did. We went over 50,000. So that was just really great. What we really want, of course, is 50 million. That's the ultimate goal. We want this to become its own brand and an institution that people recognize, like Kleenex, and just go to if you're on the left, and to help you make decisions about who you should vote for.
Okay. Betcha you're looking for volunteers, right?
We have a lot of volunteers. We have a pretty good net that we cast, and we're active on various social media platforms. And so we do have a continuous flow of volunteers. What we really are interested in is money. I left out one little piece.
Money.
Money. We want money. Nobody is paid. This money doesn't go to pay. But we purchase our election data. And by that, I mean all the races and all the candidates that are running in all these races. We don't do that part. We pay a national organization, a well-known organization, but contractually I can't tell you what their name is because they're nonpartisan, and we use their data for elections, and then we go in and add the endorsements to that. So that data we have to purchase, and we have to come up with for 2024. It's I don't know whether it sounds large or small. We need to come up with about $20,000 that we have to generate this year in order to pay for the data for the 2024 elections. If you go to the website, I hope there's a donate button there. I'm going to look. I'm going to go look real quick and see if we have the donate button there. It's not there. That's interesting. Okay. I'm going to talk to our team and we'll put up a donate button. But I'll give you a link later. We have a donate link that people can go to and donate.
Yeah. Let's not forget to do that before we sign off. All right, so then you're really not looking for more volunteers, is that?
I think if somebody likes this idea and hears about it and says, God, I'd really like to help with that. Yeah, we would love to hear from you, because we could always use other folks. And it's a big job. It's going to be a big job. We're going to have to find endorsers in 50 states. And it's the collection. We can't collect endorsements for 2024 now because there are no endorsements for 2024 now. All that happens in a sudden whoosh a couple of months before the election. So it's a very labor-intensive moment where we have to go out and grab all these endorsements and then integrate them into the guide.
Okay, so these endorsements would come from organizations.
Any reputable organization that is on the left.
Okay.
We can, first of all, Democratic parties, we want to have that. But there's many other organizations. Dem clubs are a big one. We use endorsements from Dem clubs. Dem clubs are very fond of endorsing, and they always have their slates. They're always very last minute about the whole thing. We use unions, lots of different unions, and other nonprofit organizations, nurses organizations. We use teachers organizations and all kinds of people who are on the left who have endorsement pages, because we actually link back to the endorsement. The endorsing organization has an icon, so a tiny little icon. You click on that and you go back to the endorsement site. So you don't have to take our word for it. You can read about the organization, see what they are, see if you align with them, and what credence you want to give them.
I understand. So that should be helpful to voters who are looking for information about candidates and what they stand for.
Yeah, and you can also click on every candidate has a little photograph or a little silhouette of the candidate. If you click on that, that will take you to a page with information about the candidate. So you can read up on it. But what we like to do is provide this X-ray, this quick X-ray that says, okay, this is the support behind a candidate. One feature we want to add in 2024 is we'd like to put a little thing there about where the money is coming from to support a candidate. A link to Open Secrets so you can see, is it small donations that are backing this candidate, or is it big oil or big pharma where they're getting their donations? So we probably like to try to include the top three. So that's a feature we're working on to put into the guide.
Interesting. That should be really helpful too.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, do you guys have events planned like phone banking activities and stuff like that? We'll hear about that when we come back. Just hang with us for a sec.
That's the other side of it. Blue Voter Guide is joined at the hip with Field Team 6, which is a proudly partisan voter registration organization. And of course, that's the two things you want to do. You want to register voters, and then you want to get them out to vote. So Field Team 6 handles the events. Okay. You can learn more about Field Team 6 and all kinds of events that they do by going to their website, which is fieldteam6.org, and it's the numeral 6, fieldteam6.org. And we have phone banks, text banks, postcarding, all that stuff.
Okay. If people do want to sign up to volunteer, where do they go to do that?
If you want to volunteer at Blue Voter Guide, I'm going to check. We did have a thing that says you can volunteer that's on there. I want to just make sure if we have it.
I just wondered because I received an email with all kind of options of things to do to help out.
Yeah. Don't have our volunteer button there. We should put that on that website as well. All right. So I've got my homework after today. So we tried it, and we're in the middle of this whole big redesign process, and we had to get it ready for Wisconsin. So we just did a minimal look for Wisconsin. I think we got to have that. Now, we do some menu options that are on the site at the top. One of them is called resources. And if you look at resources, it talks to you about how to support the guide. And then there is a contact form. That's probably the one to use. If you click on where it says contact at Blue Voter Guide, that's a good way. Just put your name there and your email address, and we'll get the email if you want help work. So probably that's in place right now, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It is bluevoterguide.org. Is that what it is?
Blue Voter Guide, all one word, bluevoterguide.org. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right. Okay. Now there's something on your website called Current Storm. What's that all about?
Okay, so that's on the Field Team 6 website, I think. It's not on the
okay.
It's not on the Blue Voter Guide. Field Team 6 is a punch above its weight, scrappy powerhouse of a registration organization. And one of the things we do in Field Team 6 is social storming, which is really interesting, where we get together and put out this messaging over various networks, media networks, Twitter, as long as there is still going to be a Twitter. We don't know how long that's going to last. Facebook, other places like that. And we do it simultaneously to juice the effort, and it shows up then in a lot of people's feeds, and we get our messaging out that way. And that's a social storm. It's a really cool technique, and you can learn about that by going to the Field Team 6 website, looking on there for social storming. There's a menu on there. So if you go to Field Team 6 and you click on actions, and there's a one that says current storm, but there's just lots of ways to help. And these are all ways to help register voters and get that out. So you can see that under the actions menu on the Field Team 6 site. And one thing you can do is sign up for the Field Team 6 newsletter, and that will send you every week different opportunities. And I would recommend that you do that. That's a really good thing to do.
Okay. Now, are you guys working with Democratic organizations? For example, I'm connected with the Horry County, South Carolina Democratic Party, and I do some communications work with them. And I know that if they don't know about this, they
We work with anybody who wants to work with us. And when I say we, Blue Voter Guide and also Field Team 6. Field Team 6 has a partnership program. They're looking for groups to partner with. Field Team 6 has a database of about 12 million unregistered Democrats that we use when we put out our phone banks, our text banks, our postcarding,
Wow.
canvassing. I know it's huge, and we can't possibly utilize it ourselves. We need partners. So Field Team 6 is actively looking for partners. And Voter Guide is looking for partners. We will create a branded version of Blue Voter Guide for any organization that wants it. So your organization can have something that it says Blue Voter Guide of these South Carolina Democrats, and it'll have your logo on it. So it'll look just like you. We do that for free. We'll do that with any organization. And probably one of the things we're going to be able to do when we get our new version later this year is we'll be able to allow another organization that we partner with to pick whatever endorsers they want. When we work with people in states, we want on-the-ground people to tell us in the states what are the organizations that we want to use as endorsers, because we want people with hands-on experience. And so we do that as much as possible to whatever extent we can when we reach out. And with larger organizations, we'll give you your own Blue Voter Guide. You can pick your endorsers and use the technology. And so we'll have that too.
That's cool. Is there anything more about the Blue Voter Guide that we need to talk about?
If it pops into my head, I will say, I think that covers a lot of Blue Voter Guide. I guess I really want to emphasize that the largest group of people in elections is not people who vote Democrat. It's not people who vote Republican. It's people who do not vote. Okay. It is critical, that we increase turnout of this untapped reservoir of people who are ambivalent and scared to vote. And we want to bring them into the fold. We need them. This is obviously a fraught moment. We're not through it yet. We've done pretty well as Democrats in the past 3 elections, but we've got a very big one coming up in 2024. And we've had 2 years in power as Democrats. President Biden is going to be doing a State of the Union tonight. And if you were to look at the press, everything that people are saying, it would appear that the Democrats are really in trouble. We've got all this economic turmoil and nothing has happened and all these headlines. It's just really amazing. But actually, the past 2 years have been magnificent for what the Biden administration has been able to accomplish, right? We have record low unemployment. The job creation is through the roof. The GDP growth is good. Inflation is falling. We have the major infrastructure bill, the investment in green energy, chip manufacture, all the judicial appointments. We've shot down 100% of the balloons that have been floating lately. We've been doing that. Not to mention all the work on the pandemic and distributing the vaccines. We inherited a chaotic situation, and we've been able to defeat that. And withdrawal from the Afghanistan war was something no president has been able to do, and Biden did it. I really admire him for that. I think this has been an amazing administration. And Biden was not my first choice for the Democrats. There are other candidates I would have preferred, but he has been a great president. He's done an amazing job. So,
you know what? I agree with you. And I was surprised to read in the Washington Post, I think it was yesterday, that about 60%, I think roughly 60% of Democrats don't think Biden's done much and that he shouldn't run for re-election.
Yeah. It's hard to tell with polls. A lot of them are really bad. We had a tremendous amount of bad polling in 2022 that gave us the erroneous idea that there was going to be Republican tsunami, which turned out to be a trickle. And so that's one thing. The other thing is that the press is in business to sell newspapers, and what sells newspapers is bad news. So whoever's doing good, that's not a story. It's really what you're doing bad. We want to highlight that. So it's a lot of misinformation and obfuscation and smoke that we need to pierce going forward. That's why something like Blue Voter Guide is really useful and helpful.
Just talk a little politics. Do you think Biden should run for re-election?
I trust the guy at this point. This is me personally
Yeah.
talking. If he feels that he can do it, if he wants to run again, I'm supporting him.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the same age as me, and I just can't imagine how he could have the energy to do it.
Do you think you can do the podcast for another 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I can do the podcast.
There you go.
That's easy.
We're not going to replace you with somebody else. We're
Well,
going to let you keep going.
That's good. I hope so. I just spent some money to jack up my subscriptions on YouTube.
Good for you. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to make a little money. Hell, I'm retired. I don't have any income coming in except for a puny amount from retirement. And and thank Joe Biden for my raise in Social Security.
Yeah, which the Republicans are going after.
Isn't that incredible? I do not understand what they are thinking.
They're not.
For years, we've known that the Social Security Trust Fund needs served, and that we need to find a way to make sure that Medicare is with us for the long term. But for crying out loud, to be talking about changing these programs that people rely on and have invested their own money in, that's just preposterous.
Part of their strategy is to call them entitlements, right?
Yeah.
With quotes around like entitlements, something that you shouldn't get when it's actually an insurance program that you paid for.
That you paid for. Exactly right. It angers me that they're even trying that. And then this wacky idea of getting rid of the IRS and replacing it with a 30% sales tax, national sales tax.
It's just, it does boggle the mind. And I think that people are wise to the idiocy that is going on in the Republican Party. I think we saw that in 2022. They went out there with these wacky ideas and they lost. And they lost. When the elections are fair or even approaching fair, they can't win on these policies because they're completely unpopular with the people. And we all know it's a 50-year history of trying to undo the New Deal and pull the wool over people's eyes. And that's what they're really good at. Yeah. Social Security, they say, it's out of money. This is a terrible thing. As it was originally conceived, it was a sequestered amount of money that was set aside for Social Security, right? Yeah. And it would have been fine. But Congress kept raiding the cookie jar, right? Yeah. And then you get to the point where there's not enough there, and they say, oh, we're out of money. Well, of course, you stole all the money.
All right.
So either leave it alone or just fund it out of the general fund, and that's how we should do it. But you don't get to cry foul when you're the one who stole all the cookies. That's nuts.
That's right. You know what? It reminds me of back in the day when I was really young. I was a journalist, and I had a job working with United Press International as the bureau chief in Trenton, New Jersey. And I ended up going to work for a politician, a congressman from New Jersey, as press secretary and eventually chief of staff. This guy was a moderate Republican. He was on the Merchant Marine and Fisheries Committee. And he asked me one day to go and stand in for him at a senior citizens debate with his opponent, his Democratic opponent, in New Jersey, over near the shore. And so I had to go because he had to go inspect whales or some very important thing. Right. Okay. And so anyway, I went to this meeting of about 200 seniors, and it was with the Democratic. This guy was a young, very handsome, articulate, wealthy candidate who was very well spoken. And I actually thought the guy should have won. Right.
Oh, but you won. Good for you.
So anyhow, so I go to this thing, and the big issue at the time was that the Republicans, Nixon, they were trying to get rid of they weren't trying to get rid of Social Security, but they didn't want to approve an increase in Social Security.
Right.
And the Democrats were calling for an increase in Social Security. All right. So the question was, how does your boss feel about Social Security and the Social Security increase? And
Right.
of course, the Democratic opponent was all over it. And I had to present the Republican position, which was no, because it would affect inflation, right? All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm standing there, right, next to this guy, and I'm taking all these arrows, boom, incoming. Boom. I said, wait a minute, you know what? This isn't my position. This is the guy I work for's position.
I'm just the mailman.
I'm just filling this spot right here, right now. And afterwards, the guy's name was Charlie Yates, the other candidate. He came up to me and he says, "Hey, man, if I win, will you come to work for me?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I will." So it wasn't long after that I had enough of this guy and the Republicans, and I went to work for Jim Florio, who was the Democratic congressman in a neighboring district just south of where Forsyth District was in New Jersey. And I worked for him for 2 years and as chief of staff. And I didn't have to answer any questions like that anymore. And also, the guy did his own debating. I didn't have to go stand in for him.
What a relief.
Yeah. So I don't know, you guys listen to this if you care about this stuff, but I just thought because it was not fun standing there taking all these arrows. And that's what the Republicans are going to have to do, because these seniors are not going to just stand by and say, oh, yeah, just screw our Social Security.
That's take our money, take our income, take our health care.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Here in South Carolina, they won't even approve expanding Medicaid, but there's all this free money from the Affordable Care Act, and they just refuse because it's Republican. It's Democratic money, really, and a Democratic program, and they just won't do it.
How do the people in South Carolina feel about that?
They elected McMaster, the Republican governor, with the same 60% amount of the vote that he's always gotten. And they had the Democrats had a very attractive, articulate candidate who just was not able to break through. And I think a lot of it is if you guys had been active in South Carolina and had been able to turn out a lot of voters who ended up staying home, would have made a big difference.
Yeah. From your lips to God's ear. That's what we want to do in 2024. And we want the support of every grassroots organization and the Democratic Party in every state to be able to do that.
All right. Yeah. So let's make sure we have everything down now. So for people to find out about, to learn more about the Blue Voter Guide, it's bluevoterguide.org. Voter, not voters, VOTER, right?
Singular, voter, bluevoterguide.org. Okay. And you can see how it works. You can see what it looks like in Wisconsin right now. Just type in WI in the address field and you can look at that ballot and look at the menu across the top, and you can find out other information about Blue Voter Guide. And then there's a contact form there. So you can reach out to us if you want to make a donation. You can do it that way. I'm going to try to get a donation button on there real soon. It had been there, but then it went away. And if you want to volunteer, you can send us an email or any questions that you have. That's a good way to reach us.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thanks, Wayne, for being with us on Lean to the Left. I really appreciate it. And I hope we can get this episode out far and wide. So
that would be great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Bob. It's great to get to know you a little bit.
Thanks, Wayne. Now just one more break and I'll be back in a couple of seconds with some closing comments. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you'll come back on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that I hope you find interesting, entertaining, and enlightening. Our episodes stream weekly, every Monday. Let your friends know about this podcast and take a minute to subscribe. Just go to podcast.leantotheleft.net to subscribe, check out the upcoming interview schedule, and listen to all of our episodes. And follow us on social media. Facebook at the Lean to the Left Podcast, Twitter at Lean to the Left 1, Instagram at BobGaddy_Lean to the Left, and TikTok at Lean to the Left. And you can watch the episodes at YouTube at Lean to the Left. And don't forget to visit our blog site, leantotheleft.net, where you'll find commentary on the news by some excellent writers with progressive perspectives on a whole range of topics. You can sign up as a member there, and of course, it's all free. Now, this is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.